predators, even apex predators, sometimes form communities and they sometimes form bonds with other predators. Like we saw after Deck saved the bud, baby Callus, she spits on him. And if at first he's put off by it, but then Thea quickly says, she's marking you. She's accepting you as a part of her tribe or clan.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Doom.
Welcome everybody to the Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me as always is
Cam Squared.
As well as
the Blerdlines clone that is Josh. Big shout out.
And rounding us out,
I guess I'm the Blerdlines professor, and I am in mourning, as we all are. You know, we are saddened by the news of the passing of Damon Wilson, who most people will know as Lamont Sanford from Sanford and Son. But he was also a lot more. He was a classically trained actor, and he also was a pretty accomplished dancer, specifically a tap dancer. And they actually did a few episodes where, as a part of the storyline, he would do his tap dancing on stage, and it was like really him doing his thing. But yeah, he died. He was 79, I think.
79. Yep.
79 years old.
Yeah, man. Big shout out. You know, Sanford and Son was a big deal for a lot of us, especially when we grew up, and even though on the reruns. But then also too, back to the classically trained dancer and stuff. The actors of that age, almost a big bulk of them were like huge in tap dancing and everything else, and so that added to like the lexicon, and that's why it was always good to see when they got to do it on TV shows. And that's like, you know, your Seven Davis Juniors and all of them as well. So. But definitely,
it's interesting. It's always interesting to note how those actors from that period, a lot of them were classically trained something. Esther Roll was a classically trained theater actress, and so on down the line. And, like Damon Wilson and Esther Roll, they didn't really, I don't think they were aware of the impact that they were having on the Black zeitgeist at the time. Both kind of feeling like, this is kind of slapsticky. I don't know if I want to do this, and, things of that nature. But without them, happy Black History Month, but without them, I don't think that, we stand on their shoulders in entertainment. And, without them arguably taking a step down from what they're accustomed to doing and what their full potential could have been for what they were trained for, we wouldn't have what we have today in terms of Black entertainment. So, it more than a big shout out to them. It's more along the lines of, Black entertainers that came after stand on their shoulders, because if there wasn't a Damon Williams, then we wouldn't have, potentially, and the Red Foxes and the Esther Rolls of the world, and the John Amoses of the world, we wouldn't have what we have right now. Or we have it, but it would look very different and perhaps in a much more compromised state. So definitely big shout out to a legend in the game.
Yes, sir. And do you want to add anything onto that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, he was obviously a big deal in TV, as Josh pointed out. And I think, it's worth noting that him, and this is something Josh just mentioned, but him and other figures like Nichelle Nichols, who was, the story that she was going to initially leave Star Trek, but it was after she had a conversation with someone, and Josh can probably name that specific person, but
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. There you go. Yeah. It was actually MLK. Yeah. I thought for a second, I knew it was like civil rights leader, but I didn't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, it was MLK.
Yeah. So, he asked her to stay on because of the very thing that Josh just mentioned. So I think, you have it across the board, them being icons in TV, but they fell into that position based on the burden of representation that existed at the time, that was necessary at the time, and still necessary now, because, don't be fooled. But then it was a little bit more prescient. And I know that Damon Wilson wasn't at first a big fan of, doing Sanford and Son, or at least that kind of story, And so there we go. He ended up being an icon despite of, what the story was, but also he and Fred just kind of developed, and Red Fox just developed a great on-screen Black father and son dynamic that, again, just echoes through time.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys got a little Black history, and then we get some little bit of sci-fi. I like this. I like this. Bounce. Happy Black History Month, peoples. So we finally watched Predator Badlands, and this is when we say this, it's usually all of us combined. Like some of us watched a little bit earlier, some watched it later, but we've all watched it now, so now we can have a good conversation. One of the reasons we wanted to wait for all four, just because we all had different opinions and varying agreements, but also because it was actually a really fun film. Like,
so also
you told me
when they say
10 years. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, by saying waiting on us, mainly waiting on me. I was the last to watch it, so apologies.
Also, if you see all of us wearing, for everyone that's listening, we're wearing our limited edition Blerdlines t-shirts. So it was like, wait, you guys have shirts now? We're like, we getting there. It's new year, it's new us. So we're working on some things, and so we'll roll that out over the next, sooner than later. No set date, but we're working on it. But yeah, so we are back. We watched, we finally watched Predator Badlands by Dan Trachtenberg. And this kind of like caps off his like interesting run in the Predator series. He did Prey. That was directly to Hulu during COVID time. Then he did Killer of Killers, the animated version, which was the anthology, which was really dope. And then now we land on this.
Which was a surprise release last year. That was a big surprise kind of drop. Last year around the same time. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting because we knew it was coming, but we didn't know when it was coming. And so when it did drop, it was kind of like, oh. And then when you watched it, you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. I was going to say, if it wasn't for Predator Killer of Killers, I would have gave this no attention.
Mm-hmm.
So to be fair, I had no intention of watching Predator Badlands because of the taste the previous Predator movies have left. Some good, some bad. And I was just like, whatever. But Prey was interesting. I thought it was going to be a one-off, and so I didn't expect much after that. Predator Killer of Killers brought me back and got me more interested in the lore and what was next. And so to the director's credit, this movie was good, but like, again, I wouldn't have gave it a second thought if it wasn't for the Killer of Killers animated version, which brought me back into understanding the lore. And credit to my co-host, mainly D'Angelo, for giving us the lore and bringing me back in and getting me interested in it. So I was all about this one, so I wanted to check it out for myself, albeit I was late to the party, though.
Hey,
yeah,
late to never, right?
And also, the Predator franchise, we all know, has had a nice storied tumble from, what we got. And Predator #1 was a very like almost a one-off of a type of a thing. Then you had Predator 2 with Danny Glover, Salute. That was just like, I don't even know if that type of movie could get made right now because it's just so far from what the original was. And also
it would be direct to streaming. It would be direct to streaming.
100%.
However, I will say this, and I don't have any proof to back this, but I feel like one of the Steven Seagal movies and Predator are in the same universe, because I swear the Jamaicans in this movie are in the same Jamaicans in Predator. So if I could tie those together and create some type of hype on that, I will. But
there may be a case that almost most of the action pulpy movies from the 80s was set in the same universe. There could be a case for that. Yeah, so for that. But Predator 2, for all of its hangups, I still always enjoy it, even when I go back and watch it now. Yeah. And then now I appreciate it.
That kind of.
Well, they the Predator, Alien versus Predator is where they kind of went a little bit bad, and then they did The Predator, that's with Shane Black, and that was really bad. But Predators with an S, the third one was actually not so bad. It didn't get a lot of attention, but it wasn't bad in terms of a Predator movie with what's his name, Adrian Brody, and a few other. Lawrence Fishburne was in that.
I was going to say, wasn't Fishburne in that?
Yeah, he was in that one. But that one surprised me because I didn't think that it would be good, but it actually ended up being kind of the same, similar surprise as Killer Killers, where it put you after the Predator and after Alien versus Predator, because Predators came before The Predator. But after Alien versus Predator, Predators with an S was a nice return to form.
Would you recommend it?
Predators? Yes.
Yeah, the one with Adrian Brody and Fishburne.
If you have enjoyed the Predator films before, I'm talking about the first and second one, then yeah, it follows that line of storytelling where Walton Goggins is also in it. Mahershala Ali is in it.
My man.
This is like when they were still like,
up and comers.
Sixth, seventh name in the cast,
Yeah. No, those two names are enough for me.
Yeah, now that they've sort of become, and then like I said, the setup is cool. It's just a bunch of random killers dropped on a predator preserved planet, and they have to survive 3 predators hunting them, and there's a little bit more open of the mythology because now you find out that there's different ethnic groups of Yacha and that they war on each other, and some of them are much more bigger and imposing, if you can believe it, than the others. And so a lot of that is in Predators.
Can I add on 2 things? Would this be the first example outside of like the comics where they go into the different styles of predators, for lack of a better term? Is this the movie that first goes into that?
Which one?
Yeah, this is the first one.
Badlands
Predators.
Predators with an S.
Yeah, Predators. Yeah, it is. Actually, it is. It's the first one that showed like the different types.
Not including the comics, just on the film form.
No,
film
technically
form.
no.
Yeah.
Technically no. Alien versus Predator Requiem actually shows a different kind of predator. But to your point, Cam, no, I think you're right in like officially, yes, Predators is the first time they in the movies where they actually reference, okay, there's different ethnic groups,
like
some
style.
of them are bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think in Aliens versus Predator, like I'm not sure, like the Yacha, like the term of it came from like I think one of the novels, but like some of the language and like the numbers and some of that came in some like AVP. So like all the movies kind of contributed to the lore, I think, as a whole, just in smaller different ways. And I think like Predator Badlands kind of captures everything into one, where now you see, oh, there's clear hierarchy. Oh, here's the king. Here is boom, boom, boom. And like Killers of Killers help with that as well, where we got to see 3 different types of predators and 3 different styles. And then we got to see the person that was the apex, essentially telling the people that survived, like, yo, kill each other, figure out who's going to fight me so I can kill you, kind of a thing. And then Predator Badlands, we get to see the runt.
Yeah, exactly. And it's totally an honor. You in Killers, kill each other, you guys kill each other. So, and whoever survives, you'll fight me. And most likely I'll kill you, but that'll be a great honor, more honor than any person from your species.
It'll
like
be
you have no idea
after you're dead.
But you can see culturally in Predator Killers that they literally believe this, and it's expanded upon in Predator Badlands. I'm thinking specifically of that scene where the 3 anthology survivors are being walked out to the arena, and you see each Yacha with their spirit bow to them, because again, they have defeated a Yacha, and that's like that's a big, it's respect. Like they literally in their creed is Yacha prey to none, predator to all. It's like, so, they don't see themselves, they see themselves as apex predators in the galaxy.
Can I circle
And
back
I
real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
To Predator 2. At first I wasn't on board because at the time when I watched it, I was like, where the hell is Arnold Schwarzenegger? You get a
Right,
reference.
me too.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
I think a lot of people were thrown by and then it was like set in 1997, but released in like 1990. Was that like 1990, 1991?
Something like that. I was just like, the only reference they did was they did reference that a military team did do something. But
They mentioned
can I get
survived.
a cameo? Yeah, can I get a cameo or something of Arnold? Not necessarily, but just something. However, in hindsight, it wasn't needed. I'm just saying how I felt when I watched the first time. I was like,
no, you're not alone. You're not alone. When I was a kid, I think I saw it in the theater, assuming Arnold Schwarzenegger, when at the time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was kind of the guy. So went Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I assumed sight unseen, hadn't seen any trailers, nothing. I was like, oh, this is going to be another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Got to the movie theater. Danny Glover was cool, sure. But, I too was disappointed that there was no
let me say this too.
Arnold Schwarzenegger until the movie started getting going and you realize this is it's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and B, he wasn't necessary to the plot at all.
And to be fair, the Predator franchise was kind of leaping ahead of its time because it was doing an anthology sequel where it's like, you don't need to watch the last one, but you can enjoy this one, but here's a little piece that you should know. And they kept doing that. And even in the third, there's a moment where they tell the story of what happened in the Guatemalan jungle, and they don't mention Dutch's name, but they show that was the event that brought the Yacha into the that's what brought the Yacha under humanity's radar. That's when humans had learned about the Yacha. It's not the official as we see from the killers in the past, but that's when the US government figured it out and started to now, between Weyland Yutani and connecting all that, now they're trying to, capture a Yacha in stories outside of the movies.
Honorable mention to the Predators. I don't believe y'all disrespecting the Predator dogs like that. I just feel like that is worth mentioning if we're going to talk about the franchise at all.
But we just talked about Predators, and you guys hadn't seen it.
Thoughtful contemplation on the prison industrial complex and and dog lovers. That's just my thought. That's just my take.
I literally have no idea except that there was predator dogs and prison complex. I don't know what to do.
There was. Trust me, don't watch that. It's not.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I will say Predator Killers made Predator 2 more important in the later one because there's a connection.
Yes.
That ending was an isolated ending, and I was like, okay, that's something. Maybe it's a one-off, But now Trachtenberg has connected the movies in a way where, for me, I was telling people, go watch Predator 2, get a refresher course, watch Prey, and watch Killers, and it all makes sense. Like, you don't have to watch it, but if you're into it, I suggest just getting a refresher course or getting on YouTube and just going through it, because some of those scenes make sense at the end of certain movies, especially Prey, and especially Killers. Which even at Prey, I didn't even make sense. I didn't even look at it. I was like, oh, there's something.
The connective tissue is definitely there for those films. Yeah. So that's a good.
But even without those specific things,
you don't need to do it. But I'm just saying it does enhance the movie. It makes Predator 2 more important than when I watch it the first 5 times. I was like, oh, this is Predator with Danny Glover. It's their story. It's cool. And we all know that scene where the deleted scene, he's dancing with the Predator. It's cool. However, all this connected within the lore. It's like, oh, okay, now that gun makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So
it did it for the entire franchise, because then you think, okay, well, did they come back and get Harrigan? Did they go back and get which was Danny Glover's character's name? Did they go back and get Dutch, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's character name? Because we saw Nehru from Prey. And so, and then they could be ignoring Predators with an S. But, you know, there were survivors there and they were still on the game preserve. So did they, you know, go and get them and freeze them, because they would have been impressed by them by defeating the ones they did. So
And
so they could be ignoring it though.
And supposedly,
and I would say also the other aspect of it, I was gonna say the where Predator Badlands kind of ties a lot of that in was, you know, this movie was interesting because normally we see like the best of the best go after a bunch of humans. This was like the flip where like this is essentially the runt who is supposed to get killed, but his essentially brother saves him and allows him to be, you know, free. And when they find out, you know, they gotta thin the herds.
Hey, so when you say runt, he's still running through humans. Like
exactly.
As far as the I
understand what's being said, but let's also clarify. A predator runt is still going 82-0.
It's still
a predator runt is still superhuman, super strength, super agility, durability, all of that stuff. Like it's still capable of wrecking humans and androids alike, as we saw. But I thought that it was very interesting. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cam, but I just thought it was interesting that here we have a reversal in another way, in which we usually see the Yachtja as the main antagonist, the main villain against humanity's protagonist. Here you have humans as the hidden overarching antagonist, whose agents, the Weyland-Yutani synths, are literally doing what humans physically cannot. And I thought it was interesting when I think it's the good one says, you know, we come here to survey and hunt, and you know, she doesn't say they hunt those creatures, but they're coming to survey and study the life. But you know, humans could never survive on that planet, you know, not for a second, and yet there's a very strong human presence on that planet, and it just speaks to, again, in the Predator and Alien franchises, the true villains are humanity, and specifically humanity from the guise of corporate and scientific ambition.
Can I also add on to this? This is the first time I've ever seen a Predator unprepared. Like he just looked like, you know what I'm saying? Like he lost his gear to the natural environment. Like, bro, what is going on? It's your first time out the jungle? Like, what's going on? So that was new to me. Every Predator I've seen is always prepped and ready.
But he got ready. He adapted to
this environment. He didn't get ready.
Predator would.
That's the first we saw a Predator get his weapons taken.
For sure. But that was the whole point, in my at least to my eye.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the fact that it's the first time I've noticed that. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different story, and it's exemplifying how inexperienced this young Yautja is, and how he was learning to become the apex predator.
Right, and I think, but bigger than from a film and storytelling perspective, this is why the film worked, because it was something fresh and new. Here you have this Yautja, again, who we're used to thinking of as a monster, an alien, you know, killing humans, a horror movie icon even. They are. And so here you have a situation where that whole thing is reversed. And now, yes, he is starting off vulnerable. It's the hero's journey. He comes off, he doesn't have what he needs. He has to, but just the way Deck is framed, it's fresh, it's new. We don't, by the end, you can see him slowly beginning to shake off his Yautja cultural training to the point where he's ready to take on a wolf pack. And that's totally different from where he was in the first act, where he's like, you know, I'll find the alpha wolf and then I'll kill the alpha and I'll just be the top killer of, you know, he's still trying to be the killer of killers so that he can join the Yautja clan to bring home but that shifts as his journey, as he goes on the journey with Thea, learns from her. And that's another significant thing. We're seeing this alien learn. And I think that's the other side of the human coin, right? So Thea and her sister represents the sort of duality of humanity, right? The sort of cold and calculating ambition of what's the sister's name? Is it Teresa?
Like Tessa or something like that?
Tessa, yes, Tessa.
Tessa.
So so you have the cruel, callous ambition of Tessa, that straightforward, the mission is the mission, and then you have the more compassionate, the more empathetic Thea, and again, Deck is learning from her while fighting Tessa. So again, it's a brilliant sort of visualization of that theme of humanity's duality without humans even being present.
Also, I would like to add that both Tessa and Deck were anomalies from their own kind. Where most of Tessa's
outcasts,
they were like more cold-blooded. Thea, excuse me. And with Deck, his brother showed empathy because his younger brother saved his life with the whole tooth incident. So that's the first time I've ever seen a predator show empathy, because that's not a point of view we've seen in other predator movies. Yeah. You see them as the apex predator, but now we get a more of a look inside of the culture of the Yautja and how they interact. And on the flip side, how the mindset changes from being the apex predator to understanding that you're only as strong as your weakest link, and we're stronger as a unit than as an individual of one, where it's kind of weird in the Yautja culture where they are a unit. There is a clan, but they move individually, all for Dolo, I guess, I'm assuming. Whereas now Deck has learned the wolf, the leader, protects the pack and moves as a unit. And I'm adapting this new way of thinking. And there's going to be a whole different way of how they move as a crew.
But he also learned that with his wolf pack, he actually defeated his father, and again, so there's merit to it. There's a power behind it that makes him a stronger predator in general, one that even the Yautja are blind to.
Yeah.
And I think,
and I like that they showed that part.
Piggybacking on that, there's a survival of the fittest theme that sort of runs through the whole thing, even with him learning how to operate as a team, as a pair, and then as a pack, as you guys put it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, he and that's part of his hero's journey within learning to be the individual that he is and learning to rely on his strengths and his abilities and be able to sort of grow through the ordeal of being stranded on that planet. He also embodies the predator, the sort of predator ethos of survival of the fittest and the killer of killers.
Yes. And that's really what the heart of it is that survival of the fittest is just that. It is the organism, if you will, just on a scientific basis, will fight to survive no matter what. And for the Yautja of Deck, he had to, as you said, adapt, which is something that his species is not used to doing. Humans, and by extension, Thea, have to adapt in most cases. So,
And it's good that, and then what's also cool is, one, the seamless integration of Thea and Weyland Yutani into the Predator world building was great. And also, I would say it was funny that when Thea first encounters Deck, she's like, "Oh, gotcha, whatever." But you're by yourself. Oh, you're on a hunt. That's cool. Like, she already knew everything about him. Didn't really care that he was special. There was nothing. This wasn't a special thing. This was kind of like an add-on to what the main mission was. And I like that was carried out through the rest of the movie, even with Tessa, where she was like, "Why did you have this Yautja? We don't really need him, but whatever. We'll take him because our main goal is this big ass thing. This little guy right here, he'll add to the collection, but we don't need him, Yeah.
And also, like you say, it is great the way that they integrated Weyland-Yutani very casually and just sort of kept it. It wasn't just a casual mention, I should say. It was a thing that sort of carried throughout the movie. And
no, they were the main antagonists through
totally.
Thea. Through Tessa, they were the main antagonists.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job of weaving that in without making it forced. It became part of the story without it being all weird and sort of, shoehorned in. It very natively, very naturally sort of slotted itself into the Predator mythos and vice versa, the Predator mythos into the alien world.
Yeah. And the production for this is like off because like they had a good budget. They utilized the budget well. And it was funny because for the amount of CG that was in for creating the world, like even when we saw the little offspring of the main guy, like when that character is like introduced, you're almost like, okay, this is the toy character, right? This is the one that's funny and he's a little cutesy, but then they actually give him something to do and actually make him part of the story where it actually adds to the plot and moves it along. And then you see the reveal, closer to the end of it being the child of the main thing that he's been trying to hunt. And now that he's part of that pack, it made it something where if this was a Star Wars thing, it literally would have been a cute little thing that's going to be a toy tomorrow. But this actually added to the main story of it and kept the plot going on.
So and it keeps the leitmotif there, which is predators, even apex predators, sometimes form communities, and they sometimes form bonds with other predators. Like we saw after Deck saved the baby Callus.
Yeah, baby Callus. Bud.
The baby, Bud, baby Callus. She spits on him, and if at first he's put off by it, but then Thea quickly says she's marking you. She's accepting you into as a part of her tribe or clan or whatever you want to call it, her cabal, but her unit, right? And that saved him later from what would have most likely been a mauling by Mama Callus. and so Dan Trachtenberg is good with the evolution, the themes of evolution, and specifically that Darwinian theme that runs through both franchises. Because remember, the whole thing, even in Alien Earth, Prodigy is trying to create immortality, and then in Alien Romulus, you get the synth Ash who's saying, we took the compound from the Prometheus fire, so they reference Prometheus, and we were able to create it and synthesize it for humanity so that humans can be the perfect organism. He's like, we should refer to humans as the perfect organism. This is a synth saying that. So, talk about android Stockholm syndrome, right? So AI Stockholm syndrome. And so, which I love that Mother appears, because Mother is like the big bad of Weyland-Yutani, and typical Mother. Tessa's trying to give her the update and be specific, and she's just like, "What is the status of the Callus? What is the status of the Callus? The company is not pleased, Tessa. The company is not pleased.
I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Give me the overview.
Can I give some kudos to Deck? He did defeat not only the Callus in the first round, because the Callus had regeneration factor going for him.
Oh, yeah.
So he did sever the head of the Callus and defeated it, but he also defeated his dad. So that was like a 2-in-1 trophy. Like,
right. Yes. And to be fair, to give her credit, Tessa was not no easy prey.
No.
Like she put up quite a battle, and she ended up taking down just using, and I think she represented, although, obviously androids have the physical ability to go head to head with the Yautja, they will still eventually lose. But she wasn't using her physical strength. She was just completely using all her cunning against Deck, and obviously a mech. But she was using her cunning in order to keep him from being able to get the warrior advantage, because he was coming at her. And there was a few times where he almost got her while she was in that mech. But again, she's a thinking machine. So she's, quick with the reflexes. So him, keep taking her skull and being like, here's my prey to his dad is like, you didn't see that fight, big kid,
Right,
big kid.
right.
Like you didn't see that,
what I had to do to get this.
But he's aware of synths because they're not, again, the Yacha are an advanced race. So he knows what that is. So he's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? A human play toy?
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. Outside of Alien Earth, was there any synth that showed sympathy?
Yes. In Alien Resurrection.
First one? Oh, Resurrection.
No.
Aliens too.
Definitely not the first one. Yeah, no.
The first Alien is what establishes the synth as mostly the main villains of the franchise, because they are the fail-safe of the company, right? So when humans start to waver and they start to lose focus, here comes the synth like, we got to do this. We're going to put you in. If I got to kill you, it's all about bringing that sample home to the company. Well, the sample could kill everything on this vessel, but as long as it gets to where it's going, that's all the company cares about.
The true definition of a company man.
Yeah, literally, that's the whole point. It's the perfect company man, person, whatever you want to call them. It's the perfect company person. And but to answer your question, yes, Aliens Bishop was the first sympathetic synth.
Okay, I just didn't remember.
Yeah, that was a whole. I think that's what Cam was thinking about. He was thinking about Bishop, not Ash. And so Bishop played by Lance. Yeah, Bishop, played by Lance Henriksen, is the first synth that Ripley encounters after the first Alien in James Cameron's film. And so the whole thing is that because we know about the encounter in the first film, we as the audience, as well as Ripley as the character, are watching Bishop the whole time, but it turns out that he's actually more compassionate, less of a company synth like the previous models. He's a whole new model. And then one other reference, honorable mention here, is Alien Resurrection, which had Winona Ryder as a synth, and her model was very much more sympathetic. In fact, the whole point is that she was trying to destroy because Weyland-Yutani at that point in Alien Resurrection was gone. The company was gone, but its legacy was very much intact because the new united whatever alliance of colonies basically just picked up where they left off, start funding the research, all that stuff. So she played the synth that got caught with the smugglers trying to stop or bring down the new regime and in their pursuit of the xenomorph. Yeah,
it's been so far removed from watching Alien Resurrection and Aliens that I forgot like there were sympathetic synth. I was just like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But when you start bringing it up, makes sense.
And I think also bridging these worlds together and showing how kind of seamless it works. And then going back to what Cam was saying about Predators 2, in this one, we get to see the same, right? You see Deck's ship or his brother's ship, essentially. And then you get to see when he opens up and you see the armory. And then now you get to see the pieces of their history going far back. And like every piece in there is all well placed and all that. But it just further connects the tissue from what you saw in Predator 2, what you heard
the architecture,
in Killer of Killers, and all of that. And it's like going back to what D'Angelo always talks about is just like those subtle things that make the world bigger. Because now watching Predator Badlands, again, if you just watch this from jump, you're just like, oh, this is pretty cool. And it'll probably make you curious about other things. But if you've been watching it since back then and you started to come around, you're like, yo, just like Cam said, it all connects. And it's done in a way that's not overbearing. It's not in your face. And it actually works so that when it does connect, it gets a very aha moment and almost like, damn, that was smart.
Yeah, even the way the film ends, which I was like, oh man, that they just gave us we got to wait to find out what Big Mama Deck is about to do. I just love the shot. I like the way they did it. So he defeats his dad, and then he's all triumphant, and then they cut to black, and then they bring it back up, and they're walking toward the ship, and all of the predators behind them from the clan are like raising their swords. I love those swords, by the way. We're raising their swords, and then he looks to the side, and Thea's like, "Oh, is this another? Is this more of your another friend of yours?" And Deck is like, "Nah, it's my mother." All you see is this big old ship. There is a few people online that believe that is the ship of the Grendel King from Killer of Killers, and that the Grendel King is actually Deck's mother. And the reason that there's maybe some legitimacy to that is because in a lot of the Predator lore, the female Yacha are massively bigger than the males.
So they're like Black Widow's fighters.
They're like Black Widows, like praying mantis. They're like praying mantis female, even. Like the male is lucky if he survives that mating. And so there's also a few that are connecting the big, massive one that fought Elsa, that may have been a female predator. Because if you look at that, it's a distinctive size difference between that one and the ones we see even in Predator Killers, like versus the samurai, no, the ninja and the samurai, and also the one versus the pilot. You know, they were not that massive with thick arms and all of that stuff. So we'll see if that beats. But I looked at Killers again. The ship looks the same. It's kind of hard to tell because of the animation versus the live action. And, you know, those ships do. So I don't know if that's where Dan Trachtenberg, but he did say that Killer of Killers was kind of important for Badlands, or like there's a connecting piece there. So the only thing I saw from Killer of Killers that appears in Badlands is the ship. That there was nothing else that I recognized from Killer of Killers at the end. So like I said, don't know if that's the Grendel King, because they were calling it Grendel King. That was not what it identified as. So
to our listeners, if you can answer that, please feel free to chime in on our socials and let us know the answer to that if we can't find it.
Yeah, they're interesting because like after after Badlands dropped and it was successful. And Trachtenberg had said that he wanted to do a three picture type of thing for Predators. And initially back then it was supposed to be Killer of Killers, Badlands, and then something else. So there is possibilities of him doing a third. They haven't said anything since it. You know, this is all mid last year, but still, I like, just like D'Angelo said, I like how they ended it that way, because it just, again, it's like almost the old school 80s way where you're watching something, it was super interesting, it gets to the end, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? And now we gotta wait another X amount of time, and we don't know if we get it. Yeah, but it's
if we get an answer at all.
If we get an answer,
and you know, I think likely we will, even if it's just animation, because again, there's no reason to not follow up on it. It was extremely successful, more surprisingly successful than I think they anticipated that it would be.
100%.
Both films, both Killer of Killers, no, all three films, Prey, Killer of Killers, and now Predator Badlands. And we have no way of knowing what Prey would have done in theaters, but because it was COVID time. But here you have Badlands that shows that franchise still has some strength in it. And because we don't have a recognizable star in that movie. You know, Elle Fanning is well known, but she's not that level of a box office draw.
She's not an A-lister.
She probably is. She's well on her way now. After this, as far as like being a box office smash hit. You know,
she's a critical darling. Like she did, she got the nominations for Academy Awards and Emmys and Golden Globes. But like you said, like a blockbuster, like this movie's making 300 million type of an actor. She hasn't been to that level yet.
Yeah, and the actor that played Deck, I think this is his first major film in general. He's pretty young. So, again, all those things are usually in the box office culture. It's like you have the star, but here you did. Not only do you not have a major star, but there are no human characters. I mean, obviously, Thea and Tessa, in a sense, look human, but they are not performing humanity as much as you would have from a human character, whether that be a protagonist or an antagonist.
Yeah, and so I mean, they have so much room to do. Like, I would love another animation. Like, the Killers was just done really, really well, and it was like from a plot situation, from the animation side, the character designs. So like, they could easily do animation, and it would be super fun for them to do it. Movies as well. Alien Earth did really well in terms of like the reception and like production buys and all that. So, again, if you would have told me 20 years ago that the best franchises out right now are Predator and Alien,
I don't think anybody would have guessed it even before Prey. And so that's what really started it. It was Prey, and then Alien Romulus, and then now we've kind of got, and I think the connective tissue there is return to form. Go back to doing what you did best. Don't try to do more than what and the things that were always great about Alien and Predator, but specifically Alien, was dealing with the xenomorph and dealing with Weyland Yutani. that was the winning strategy.
And don't trivialize 100%. The subject matter. Like, don't trivialize the characters. Don't trivialize the world. Make the world not real, because it's fiction and heavy science fiction on top of that. But don't make it goofy. Like, don't make it the Predators. You know what I mean? Don't make it a joke. Like, take it seriously. In order for the audience to take it seriously, it can't be slapsticky. It can't be a bunch of jokes. Homie from Key and Peele is funny as hell, but don't have no place in a Predator movie, in my opinion. And great thing.
He's talking about The Predator. That was directed by Shane Black. And I think it was released in 2017 or something like that.
2018. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it was still a success, because it was the budget was like, it made double its budget, if you want to put it that way. But it was just not good. You watched it, and you're like, what are we doing here?
And it's a wider thing that happens to a lot of franchises. You had the Michael Keaton Batman movies; those were taken very seriously. Even the second one, and the second one was a little goofy. But from Joel Schumacher taking it over after the second one, up until the Batman Begins, these are all goofy ass movies, and needlessly so. Like, why take the trip back to 1960s themed Batman? Like, why?
Well, the story behind that, right? That was the story behind that was that they wanted to make it more palatable for less dark. I ain't not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that I know you don't. Yeah. No. But still, here's the thing. Batman Forever, for all of its hangups, wasn't so much of a leap from where they were. I mean, it wasn't that much of a leap. But to your point, these franchises sometimes do that because of obviously the big business getting involved. And so the creative has to take the backseat. And that's probably, I'm sure that's what you're pointing out in more simple terms, is that when in this situation, the creative has been winning out, whereas that the studio of Disney, Fox, whoever's, 20th century studios, they are allowing the creatives to have their day. And that's making lots of money right now. I mean, it's the one so, hopefully more franchises will get on board with that and allow the creatives to step forward. But So many franchises are formulaic now, so formulaic that it's hard to, because if you ask someone like take Prey from Prey to Predator Badlands, could you apply that to any other franchise in terms of the creativity that went into that, the creative projection of that? Whereas Prey was almost a straight up science fiction survival horror, and then you got Killers, which is an anthology that's less survival horror but more about the dynamic of predator and the prey, the hunter and the hunted. And then you have Predator Badlands, which is totally different from these two in tone and in the way that the narrative operates and functions. But there's not many. Fortune favors the bold. That's bold as you're going to get in Hollywood, at least. And so,
absolutely,
until there's an embracement of that, I don't think we're going to get these franchises that can deliver on fresh takes on old things, because that's what this is. Predator is a 30-year old franchise, almost 40 actually,
almost 40 now.
And same with Alien. Alien is actually almost 50.
It's older.
Yeah. And so these are not new properties, and yet they are functioning almost as if they're new. They're taking on the new audiences by just doing the same thing that they've always done. That's why. No, I won't go into the Star Trek thing, but that's
I
why
was about to say
that's kind of my issue with that, is that I don't, and that's why I know it's not for me. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying right now it's not for me. So I'm not joining.
I would say episodes, without going too far off, I'd say episodes 2 and 4 are definitely closer to being for you.
That might be true, but
1 and 3.
I'm a complete story guy.
Yes.
So I need it to be consistent.
However, I will say, if I may, the other thing I'd say is MCU could definitely take a page out of this book, because they're way far afield from where they started, and are arguably, one could say, different levels to different degrees. Both the Predator franchise and the Alien franchise did waver to a certain amount, to a certain degree, in somewhere in the middle of their chapters, and have swerved the truck back onto the road, and it's cruising along very nicely. So
and I would say that's the thing where we're seeing that, of all the storied franchises that we all we pay attention to, the ones that are getting back on track have just done exactly what Dee said, just getting back to why do people like this in the first place? And I think that, unfortunately, the other larger franchises, they've gotten away from it, and they've been swerving off the road for a minute. And will they come back? We'll see. But at that point, will we even care when they do? And I think that's really what it comes down to.
Mike Yacha, great again. Let's go.
Yeah. But to round everything off, I mean, now I now need to go back and rewatch. I kind of want to rewatch The Predator just to remind myself how bad it was.
No, don't do
Remember
that.
when I watched it, I was like, what is going on? I thought it was a prank, a parody.
No,
it's Shane Black. I mean, it's exactly how he approached Iron Man 3, which is
the
why
franchise ruiner.
Which is crazy. Yo, he did the last Kiss Goodnight, which is another one of those just 90s favorites of mine. Doesn't mean it's a good film. It's just an enjoyable film.
He's done some good stuff. Yeah, that's a good movie.
The Nice Guys.
He's done some good stuff. Well. The Nice Guys was a good movie. But when he's trying to do the franchise stuff, it just don't pan out. And he was in the first Predator he had a role in the first Predator. So when he was announced as being a director, a lot of people kind of was like, okay, he's going to bring it back to form.
Right.
Nah. He wilded out. He wilded out in the bad way.
It was brought back to form with Predators. Just, again, I think the problem with that one is that the story wasn't as dynamic as again, they're on the preserved planet. They're not even on Earth.
But I think also fatigue, right? Because people, the franchise.
Yeah, there have been Alien versus Predators.
Yeah, the franchise had already begun to swerve a little bit too much out of its lane, and so by the time you get to that one, I haven't seen that one. I'm going to see it, but only because you say so now. But at that point, I had no interest. I had fleeting interest because I saw Lawrence Fishburne is in it, and I'm still a huge Lawrence Fishburne fan. But outside of that,
yeah. No, I gave it a shot, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I watched it. It was like a rental. I was like, why not? Predators, why not? I like the franchise when it's doing what it does best. And then, so as I got into it, I'm like, okay, this is when it's doing its best. You got the Predator theme. It opens up with it literally drops you right into the middle of the story via Adrian Brody's character.
Yep.
As soon as it cuts from the credits, it's falling from the sky.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself, I was like, whoa, okay, we in it. Like he's literally wakes up and he's falling in from the sky. And then as he lands, boom, Predators with the old Predator score back. And so I was like, okay,
so crazy.
I'm going to watch this. And I didn't regret it. And it's not long. And that's another thing. I was like, this is what you need in a Predator movie. It's like the Dark Fate effect, Josh. It was the Dark Fate effect before Dark Fate. And so when I say the Dark Fate effect, I'm talking about Terminator Dark Fate, which had the same problem. By the time that Terminator Dark Fate, it was too late. People were done.
Excellent movie, but
it was a really good movie.
Nobody cared.
It was a really good Terminator movie, but we had sat through Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. We had sat through Terminator Salvation, which whatever, there's some good stuff about that, but for the most part.
Whoa. Common did a really horrible acting job. We have to say that on that movie.
Why are you bringing it up?
Well, if you're going to talk about Common, then we can talk about, we got to throw Sam Worthington, the main character himself. That dude is the worst actor probably out there yet.
They were trying to make him a thing so much during that time. That
really
was like Clash of the Titans. He was getting random other action joints.
Gentlemen, Avatar.
Avatar. Whoa. We were on positives. We were talking about positives, things that made things good, not like.
Well, the point where I was going with it is that
bring it back.
Where I was going with it is that Dark Fate should have done better than it did. Critically, the critics loved it. A lot of the audience loved it when they eventually saw it. But when it was released, it was a box office like. And so Predators, similarly, not probably as good in terms of a movie as Dark Fate, but still a solid for that franchise. People were just like, I didn't saw Alien versus Predator. I've seen Aliens versus Predator 2. I've seen all this stuff. I'm a little tired of Predator. And so there you go. So fatigue and the Dark Fate of the Dark Fate.
Yeah, and
I think that's gonna be a verb now. It got dark faded.
Got dark faded. Yes,
got dark faded. It had a very dark fate. That franchise did.
So to wrap everything up, we'll go around the horn. Everyone kind of gets the last word on. I would say Predator, Badlands, but more just Predator in the general of the franchise and things that go around it. The quick thing I'll say is that Shane Black directed Monster Squad, which I still feel is better than Goonies, just randomly. He wrote it. He wrote it.
I got the 4K. I'm just saying it's still one of my favorite 80s cheese ball movies. Yep. Like I love it.
One of my faves. I just had to bring that out there. But I'll say one of the things that Dan Trachtenberg had done is, again, just talking about from a franchise song, he literally took something that everyone had already kind of was A, tired of, B, didn't care about, and
written off
about it. And it was done already. And Prey was it was a one-off that kind of worked, and people thought it was going to be a one-off. And then when he dropped in with Killer of Killers, he just showed that, hey, I actually have a plan for this. Here's the world that we're building, and we're expanding on stuff that's already there. And then I think Predator Badlands kind of put a pin on just to show like, yo, this world is crazy and huge, and there's a lot of things we can do with it, but we wanted to show from different angles of how you could do it, and that there's different levels to it. So that's not just this, if it's a far cry from our Predator with Arnold and the muscles and that one Predator to where we have now this whole theme breathing world that's super interesting and you want to learn more about.
A whole civilization. And I was just going to say, and we really they haven't even connected the Yacha and the engineer race. And they have encountered one another in the comic lore. And so I've sort of followed the sort of timeline, and you'll notice that the Yacha it wasn't until AD, and we talked about this before on the pod, it wasn't until AD that they started to actually come to Earth and take on warriors. But before that, Earth was under the protection of the engineers, because in that fictional universe, the engineers engineered humanity, created humans, seeded life on Earth. But at some point, in this was cut from Prometheus, the engineers kept being disappointed with humanity. They gave us one more shot, and that was when they took a mother and made her child an engineer and sent him back, and humans killed him. And that happened 2,000 years ago, making that child Jesus Christos. that's who he was. In that, but they cut that, and there was so much good lore, because that's the reason why because remember, they kept saying they were here 2,000 years ago. What were they doing in this outpost 2,000 years ago? Were they headed back to Earth? So they reveal later, and they cut all of the engineers, because he actually speaks to David, to the Fassbender character, and he tells him, like, we tried time and time again with humans, and every single time, all you guys have done is destroyed that planet. We gave you a paradise, and you keep doing the same thing over and over. So no more. They were literally going to wipe humans out, but fate intervened, and they themselves. But anyway, the Yacha, there's still room for a storyline to include them. In the comic, there is a Yacha named Ajar, I think, or Ajax. I think it's Ajax, but he joins a human, and he's trying to hunt an engineer. Like, this is like he's heard the stories. He's like, if I go after them, this is the ultimate hunt. And he does find an engineer. And he barely survives.
Now, hold on.
He barely survives.
So to bow tie on this particular conversation and this topic, in Predator Badlands, was there a Easter egg of an engineer trophy in the ship?
I'll have to look again. If there was an oddly humanoid large skull, then it may have been. Because the engineers look almost like us, but we're like a smaller, less imposing version of the engineers. And so
engineers are more like proto-humanistic looking,
right, but looking like something more than proto-human. Like they are large. Like they are like the one that you see in that movie was like, I think 7, 8, like almost 8 feet tall. And so
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like size, all their body mass is very much bigger than humans. So if there is, I'll look again. If there is a skull that looks slightly human, but way bigger than what it should be, then that's likely indicative of the engineer, of them having hunted and killed an engineer.
Yeah.
But that ain't no easy hunt. That ain't no easy hunt at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because even the Aliens versus Predator, like the Aliens versus Predator graphic novel that came out, is a super interesting and very simple premise. It's literally like, and then once we got to the movies, they did all this extra stuff and blah 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 blah. But so there are there are places where they can go that can bring it down to those levels of like just a simple premise and making a good story. So I'm like, there's just so much. They just have so much room to grow. They have so much more things that they could do. And so I think if Dan Trachtenberg is around to, at the very least, helm some of it or just guide them in the right direction, I think it could be something pretty dope. But
I would say Predator Badlands. I was just going to say really quick, Predator Badlands, to add to what you were saying, is an example of how the Alien versus Predator comics would typically go, which is the Predator is hunting, Yacha is hunting a xenomorph, and somehow they come across a human, and a human ends up being aiding them or something like that, or somehow the humans get involved, similar to how that came across Thea. That's all I wanted to add because it bookended what you were saying.
And that's why a lot of the stories in the comics work so well. He was always super interesting with that. But thanks for listening to us rant about two franchises and one franchise with adjacentness that actually worked.
I didn't get a final word.
Oh, sorry. Josh, would you like to add something?
I guess. I am very much looking forward to what comes next in the outgrowth of the universe that Trachtenberg is building and the joint universe of Alien and Predator in a more intelligent way than Alien versus Predator did it. Because I think it just kind of landed in the Alien versus Predator, Jason versus Freddy kind of, sort of monster mashup. Like what would happen if, as opposed to an intelligent joining of the two universes and sort of allowing to sort of be what they can be if you intelligently stack one alongside the other. Trachtenberg has, as we mentioned, successfully revived a franchise that I won't lie, before Prey was kind of dead to me. I don't even remember how I wound up seeing The Predator in 2018, the 2018 The Predator movie. And I regret it to this day. This is horrible. It's not good at all. And so much so, the franchise, I guess I burned out on the franchise to the point where I completely, even being a very big Adrian Brody, very big Lawrence Fishburne fan, I was just like, this is another stupid Predator movie. I'm not going to invest time in doing this because it's just, it's going to be silly. It's going to be campy. It's going to be everything that it should not be. So on D'Angelo's recommendation, I'll go see it because D'Angelo doesn't recommend things lightly. But yeah, to round it out, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the next installation is and the sort of larger future of the joined universes pushes out.
Yeah, definitely. Now I can say, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, notification.
Now you.
I got to do this every time. You got to say it at the beginning, got to say it at the end. Wrap them all together.
Right.
Wrap them all together. But yeah, once again, thanks for everybody listening. And yeah, man, we got a lot of things up in store, and it's been kind of fun. So, this is Blerdlines, and we out.
Peace.
Later.